Hey everyone, Jim Fitzpatrick. Thanks so much for joining me this morning. Today we've got Mr. Sean Gardner, who you've seen him here before on CBT News. He's an instructor and sales trainer for the one and only Joe Verde Group. A lot of people come into dealerships, as you know, and they'll say, okay, what's my out the door price, right?
Yeah, yeah,
I don't know if they were taught that by their parents or where
yeah,
they learned this whole
sure.
notion of out the door price. Because so many people,
Yeah,
80% of the people buy on payments anyway. So you
yeah,
never hear them say, what's the out the door payment? But they
yeah,
are focused
yeah.
on what's the out the door price. So I'm going to let
Agree.
you pick it up right there. What do you say to a customer that says, give me your best out the door price?
Yeah. All righty. Well, I mean, you heard it when you were on the floor, right?
Yep, absolutely.
I heard it while I'm on the floor, and salespeople are hearing it today. What's
Yeah.
your best out the door? All we want is your best out the door price.
That's
Is that what
right.
they say? So we were just in a big workshop up in Northern Virginia, back-to-back workshops, great organization. But salespeople were even coming to me during the breaks, and they were just asking or telling me all their customer wants is the best out the door price. So yeah, if
Right.
we're going to get it a lot, we need to learn how to handle it, right?
Yeah.
So, Jim, first of all, some of it, not all of it, but some of it could be when we were selling cars, a little bit of our own fault. We're out on the lot, we're building rapport, and we're investigating, and we get into a price conversation maybe a little too soon in the selling process.
Right.
We start asking the customer, what kind of price range are you looking to stay in? And then we back that up by trying to discover maybe a little bit of their trade situation. And then
Yep.
we're trying to ballpark things. So we're getting a little too priced focused throughout the selling process. And that could make it tougher for us later on. And then also to boot, check this out. We do a good job with the selling process. The customer seems to like us. They seem to like the car. And we're trying to transition into the write up. You remember the write up, right? You're writing the customer up. And a lot of us, I know I was taught to, as you're writing them up, you got to kind of firm them up as you write them up. So I was taught to firm them up based on, hey, listen, if we can get the figures agreeable, I mean, is this the car you'd want to buy and drive home right now?
Right.
Of course, the customer would say but that's what, hey, we don't want to play your game. Okay.
Yeah.
We just want your best out the door price.
Which
You know,
means they're hitting the door as soon as you give it to them, right?
pretty much. Of course, 96% of the customers that get what they feel is our final figure right off the bat, they're just going to take the number and go shop it.
Right.
Okay. So the point is, though, we're too price focused in the selling process. We're too price focused when it comes to the close. And then we wonder why we're getting this, what's the best out the door price? A little bit of it is on us.
Yeah. Yeah, of
Okay.
course. Yeah.
But still, though, you could do a perfect job with the customer, and that customer could still say, we just want your best out the door price. So let's talk about how to handle that. Okay.
Okay.
First of all, and you kind of said this to start, what a customer says isn't necessarily what they mean. And I hope if you're watching this, you write that down. What a customer says isn't necessarily what they mean.
Amen to
In other
that.
words, they could be saying, hey, we just want your best out the door price. But they're really trying to tell you they don't know if they can afford the payments, like you said. Okay.
That's right.
Yeah. What is that? 90% of all customers make payments, lease or buy,
Yeah.
right? I was in finance for 5 years, and
Mhm.
75% of customers were captive finance. You remember that word captive?
Oh, yeah.
They would come in and want to use our financing.
That's right.
Okay. And then I had to try to convert about 15% to our finance.
Mhm.
All right. So, they're trying to beat us up on price, on price. But at the end of the day, for 90% of the customers, it really comes down to payment. So we have to, like Joe Verde says, if we're going to work through this buying, first of all, when a customer says, what's your best out the door price? Is that really an objection or just a question?
It's a question.
Yeah. So if we handle it like an objection, it could make it tougher on,
That's
right?
right.
So you do a good job with the selling process. You're to the point where you're writing them up, and the customer says, "We just want your best out the door price." What we got to do first, Jim, is just ask a very customer friendly question. We got to clarify what they really mean. So Bob, are you writing a check for the full amount for the vehicle, or are you more worried about those pesky payments? That's all you got to ask a customer. 90% will say what? Well, we just don't know if we can afford the payment. which means we're already in better shape. It's very hard to make a customer happy with best out the door price. But if I just ask that one question, Bob, are you going to be writing a check for the total amount, or are you more worried about those pesky payments? Most customers, well, I just don't know if I can afford the payment. All right, now step 2 would be to rephrase, make the objection easier or the question easier to work with. Well, gosh, Bob, it sounds like you're like most of us. It just sounds like you're on a budget. Is that right? Customer says, well, yeah, who isn't? So we've just went from best out the door price to this customer's just basically on a budget, which 90% of all customers are. I'll have a 90% chance that I'm right. And then now all we got to do is close based on budget. Check this out. I'm going to start from the top so everybody can hear it again. Sean, I just want your best out the door price, Bob, and I get that. But now, are you writing a check for the full amount, or are you more worried about those pesky payments? Well, shoot, Bob, it sounds like you're like most of us. You're just on a budget. Is that right? So other than fitting this car that you guys like within your budget, would there be any other reason why we couldn't send you home in it right now? Bob, you let me worry about that, okay? You want a cup of coffee, something cold to drink while we start the paperwork? Jim, if they're following me in the office and they say cup of coffee or something cold to drink, aren't we firming things up in a super positive way without necessarily having to just show them our best out the door price?
That's right. They wouldn't even know what to do with the out the door price if you gave it to them.
Now, you know what they would say? If they're serious buyers, which all customers are, they would say, well, what would that make my payment?
Exactly.
Yeah. So here's the thing, Jim. A lot of salespeople, they're trying to close on best out the door price, and then they have to close the second time based on payment.
Yep.
Why not just take this whole thing and use Joe's easy process to take all these price objections and switch it into a budget and close on the word budget so that we can set up, check this out, more of a customer-friendly budget-focused negotiations. That's what we have to do, set up a customer-friendly budget-focused negotiations, which, by the way, is consistent with how most customers pay for their vehicle. Check this out. I know we're running out of time, but what are some things I could do, Jim, to help a customer fit it in their budget in the negotiations?
There's a number of different areas that the sales team can put a deal together. Obviously, less gross profit, more in the trade, longer term. I mean, there's more down payment, which probably I should have started the list with, right?
Yes. So look, more down, longer term, the customer might qualify for a better rate.
Yep.
Okay. We could look at a lease. A lot of vehicles lease out very well.
Yeah.
If the customer's trading in a gas hog for a new car that gets 45 miles to the gallon, we could do the gas savings close. We could do the maintenance close. We could reduce the amount that we're off on payment to the ridiculous to make it make sense to the customer that they can fit this in their budget. Like you said, Jim, there is a long list of things I can do to help the customer fit it in their budget. But there's only one thing I can do if I close based on out the door price, and that would be drop our price.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right.
We just want to make it easier for the customer, easier for the salesperson, and put the salesperson in a position to make more money and to close more sales in the negotiations. But you got to set it up right. Final thing, you have to set up more of a customer-friendly budget-focused negotiations, and Joe's process makes that easy for a salesperson.
I love it. I mean, and you're right. I mean, you've got to ask those questions when a customer asks you that question. What's your best out the door price? And so I love it.
Jim,
you're going to be paying cash, or are you going to be, looking for those pesky payments? You're making monthly payments on it. And if the answer to that question is payments, which 89% of the time it is, then go down that road of saying, price is my easiest thing. Let's focus on, what your monthly budget is. How much is that, right?
Yeah. Joe talks about how you could cut the price in half on a car, and if the customer can't afford the payment, chances are they're not going to buy, right?
That is a great line because it's so true.
Yes.
So true.
Yes. One last comment. I used to work at a single point, new car only Buick store. Okay.
Oh.
So
Tough.
we saw our cash deals. We didn't even sell pre-owned cars. So we saw our share of cash deals. So unless you work at a single point Buick store only with not even used cars, then you can switch price to budget, close on budget, and set up a customer-friendly budget-focused negotiation.
The single point Buick store is a great training ground, right? Because if you can make it
Yes,
there,
sir.
you can make it anywhere, right?
Yes, sir.
Sean Gardner, instructor and sales trainer at the Joe Verde Group. Dealers that are watching this, there's so much more of Sean and his team that can help you close more deals and maintain gross profit. If you noticed, what he was talking about there was maintaining gross profit without giving it away just because that
Yes, sir.
customer said, what's your best out the door price? To Sean's point,
Yeah.
everyone runs right to the gross, more in the trade, whatever the case might be. A couple of more questions and you can make the sale and maintain the gross. So Sean, thank
Yes,
you
sir.
so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jim. Always an honor.
Great. Thanks.